Federal courts are open to the public. You walk into El Chapo trial. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can walk into the El Chapo trial.
You wouldn't recommend it because it's going to be a fucking zoo or what?
I don't know, man. I imagine, I don't know, there's freaking cartel members following people out the courtroom. Like,
you think?
I don't know. I didn't report on the El Chapo case.
Really?
No?
You were a little intimidated by it?
Yeah.
Really? But you weren't worried about being in the room with the 6ix9ine trial and stuff?
Well, I mean, I didn't do that 6ix9ine interview. I recorded a 6ix9ine interview and then I cut it.
Speak on that. So, like, why was it so hard? Because you said, like, it was just, like, multiple takes after a while. You just said, bro, I'm done with this shit.
Well, I was just worried about what the end product would look like, and I was worried that I wouldn't have artistic control, and I was worried that gang members in my city might look at me as a 6ix9ine sympathizer, and I did not want any of that to happen.
So how did this actually come about? He reaches out to you because at a certain point he was just basically looking for anybody in hip hop that will give him a platform, right? And
well, I'd like to think that I was before a couple of anybody's, but yeah, I was definitely after a lot of others.
no, but like, okay, we remember that Joe Budden, I believe, was offered it at a certain point.
Yeah,
I think even Vlad at a certain point. And
I
then,
might have been before Vlad.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll figure out who was first, Vlad.
Not trying to take anything away from you, but you'll notice that
Gillian
Wallow.
before me. Yeah,
but then he, at a certain point, it was he ends up on the Shade Room, who you really are not used to them even interviewing rappers. He ends up on Logan Paul. So it's like, okay, a YouTuber who's gonna, realistically not press the hard questions that he probably wants to avoid. It occurs to me that like your interview would probably be the best interview for him to do in a lot of ways because you're going to ask him the most technical questions. I feel like, and that was the problem when I saw Wax sit down with 6ix9ine and academics at the Fresh and Fit studio. Is I just felt like Wax wasn't prepared to really grill him about the stuff that he should have been grilling him about. Which once he started managing him, it was kind of like, oh well, I guess that does make sense that he didn't want to do that.
Hey man, look, I ducked out of that interview. I was scared to do that interview. You can say I fumbled the bag, but he has the takes. He can put the 2 takes out there.
He reached out to you.
He reached out. I was at the Jersey Shore, spending the summer down there. I was on the beach and I was toasted. And
off what? White Claw?
No, just some of New Jersey's OG.
Ah.
So I'm nice on the beach, right? Like real good. And I get a call, and it was like, "Yo, Takashi," or I think it was the manager. It's like, "This is 6ix9ine's manager. We want you to come do an interview." And I was like, "Yo, I'm dying, bro. What is this? This is hilarious."
Right.
And so then he's like, "No, I'm gonna message you from the account right now." So then he's like, "Check your DM." So I look at my phone, and there's the 6ix9ine account. And that moment was like, I haven't had a moment like that probably until today, or maybe like at that moment, because I mean, listen. I don't know. Like, I was just such a big fan of the kid, man.
Right. You were rooting for him before all this?
And I'll still say this. What he accomplished in 2 to 3 years is unparalleled, or it's up there with anybody else's run.
Of course. 10 for 10.
That run is fucking awesome.
Yeah. And the way that it ended so abruptly, in a lot of ways, kind of just underlined what a crazy couple of years it was.
I'm too much of a fan to ever think about the end. I don't care about the end.
He's like a Star Wars fan that just like, or like I like The Simpsons up to like season 7 or 8 or whatever it was, and I don't have any interest in The Simpsons now. It's kind of like that.
The end is just because of how fucking good it was. Like that's the only way shit like that can end. But anyway. It was a great 2-year run, so I'm on the beach, and I get the text, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is really him. And I look at my wife, I'm like, yo, I don't even know. She's like, nah, you should go. You're going to regret this for the rest of your life if you don't go. So I was like, all right. So I got in my car, drove straight back to Williamsburg, which is where I was living, got some shit, went to a studio, and it was, like I said, I ducked out, I backed out of the interview, whatever. But he has the 2 takes. He can play the 2 takes.
You sat down to do the interview right then and there?
Yeah.
That same day?
Yeah, I was toasted.
Okay.
I prepped nothing because I was too
You're
gone.
just sitting in the car kind of thinking about what you're going to ask him?
Not really. I was like, I got a ride there. And I was trying to put questions together.
You see that? He can't say anything
I was
about it.
I was trying to put the questions together, and I just couldn't. I was sitting there, I was like, I just couldn't do it. But let me tell you about these 2 takes.
What was the first question? Like your first attempt to get him to talk?
I'll tell the question later. 6ix9ine can put out the takes. I got him though, bro. I delivered my question, and he was about to respond, and then he said, no, cut that," because it was basically I asked him this. I said, "Look, you were this kid one day, whatever, and then you became this gangster rapper, right? And now you went from that, and your lawyer's telling you this, and the feds are telling you this. Now you're the feds' little pet. You just went and you just played lapdog for the feds for 3 weeks. Now you're coming out, right? And now you're doing this. Who are you? Where is the you? Aren't you worried that you're somebody who has a circumstance presented to you and you just switch into that circumstance, and then another circumstance presents to you and you just switch into that circumstance, and after 3 or 4 of those, don't you think you've lost yourself?"
Yo, that was deep.
And that's what he said.
That wasn't prep?
That's literally what he said.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it was gonna get real deep, and it could have gone a lot of ways, but ultimately I got scared and backed out the interview.
Right. Because when you look at his actions, I mean, he's been basically kind of canceled out of hip hop. Obviously, he has his fan base, but for the most part, he could have a photo up tomorrow that have 10 million likes, and you go through the comments and you won't find one rapper. It's really like a pretty remarkable scenario. When you look at that, do you think that what he did was immoral, or do you look at it and do you believe some of his justifications for it when he says, "Oh, they were doing this to me, they were going to kill me, yada yada yada"? Like, what do you actually think of his character, having observed all this?
You can't have your cake and eat it too. The reward for snitching is freedom. It is not a return to your gangster rapper status. And to think that is a sign of a lost man.
Yeah, I think we were all looking for something different from him when he came out. Some growth.
Do you remember what the comeback? We don't have to devolve into that, but that comeback was crazy when he just starts insulting everybody about everything, and I'm gonna expose the rap industry about Snoop. It was mania.
Snoop and the girl Desiree Perez, and
I kind of understand in his stance on that in terms of y'all calling me a rat, and I'm being like taken off a playlist essentially because I snitched. But there's all these other snitches in hip hop. There's just Desiree like there's some stuff.
I never spun no Desiree shit on my Spotify.
It seems kind of weird to have to go all the way to an executive at the company that's signing artists to find the
and then
hypocrisy,
there's a Snoop
right?
thing, but then people are saying the Snoop thing is fake.
No,
Saying it's real.
There's no. Listen, if somebody has the Snoop thing, you DM me, I'll look at it. There is no Snoop thing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen jack shit about Snoop. That's ridiculous.
And 6ix9ine really isn't a trustworthy source,
About 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like if people were going to have tried to put that jacket on Snoop, I feel like the time has really passed. That was 30 years ago. I was literally in first grade when Snoop was going on trial for that shit back in the day. I mean, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody's going to turn on their uncle. And everybody, if you fuck with rap music and you've been fucking with rap music for as long as I have, everybody views Snoop Dogg as their uncle. You're not going to turn on your uncle just because 6ix9ine throws this idea out there.
Bro,
Right.
He said, "I'm going to expose all the rats." I was just waiting. I was like, okay.
But who's the rats?
No, trash. What? No, trash. And he never exposed no rats.
Of course. Well, again, he did expose Desiree Perez. Now, I will say this. He never exposed any rappers. But then if, let's say, Meek Mill is saying, "Yo, I can't fuck with rats. Fuck a rat. I'm never going to do business with a rat." And then he does business with Desiree Perez, who was wearing wire to take down, gangs, et cetera, right? So how can Meek Mill take the stance of he's anti-snitching, anti-rats as fuck 6ix9ine because 6ix9ine rats, but then Meek Mills is doing close business with Desiree Perez because she's like the president or some high-ranking member of Rock Nation. So that's what he was trying to say. I kind of understand the Meek Mill thing, right? You really can't speak on rats if your boss is a rat.
The Desiree Perez thing.
You see how he's really trying. You see how he's
trying
struggling to get it out. That's what it doesn't add up.
It's not the worst argument I've ever heard. If the only thing that we're trying to do here is establish that there's some degree of hypocrisy with Meek Mill, but I don't think that's not really what's being said here.
Yeah.
You are directly in a gang, a famous New York gang, and then you put 25 of them behind bars based off of your complete betrayal of what you previously said you were about.
Yeah. Again, he's definitely a snitch and a rat, so that's cool. But then you also said, is it immoral?
See, that's the thing that I think is kind of crazy. Is I understand them maybe not wanting to have Tory Lanez or R. Kelly or whoever on certain Spotify playlists, but when you look at what 6ix9ine did, I mean, he very much, if anything, he aided and abetted a civil society in which the law and order, the rule of law is important. I mean, you know, if somebody goes to the Spotify headquarters and throws a brick through the front window, they want the cops to show up and find the guy and throw him behind bars, right? I mean, 6ix9ine, we all know, would be like, it was him. It was him. He would be the first one on deck to advocate for the victims of violent crime,
That's
right?
a fact. The industry really, you know, they have some explaining to do.
Yeah.
It's
a popularity contest, end of the day, you know?
Holding them up.
Hey, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe. We just hit 200K. We're trying to get to 300K.
Turn this up.
Appreciate y'all.
Let's go.